So, welcome everyone to another day of Builders Corner. And today with me, I have Big Chooks.
Yes, so I am Emmanuel Onouha. I am, aka Chalks.
Your community, Web3 Nigeria, I think is the biggest community in Africa right now. So, I want to get your story. How were you onboarded into Web3? How did you get into Web3?
I call it a space or something, but I was on a clubhouse recording one day, and I bumped into folks talking about NFTs and all of that, and that's where my interest peaked on the on NFTs.
I want to give a shout out to 5 persons that inspires you.
The first one is Elon. In the Web3 space, I am inspired by Jesse, because you are young, so you want to experiment, you want to build, you want to show that you can build. In fact, I like saying, and it's actually factual, I think I was actually the second African to build any NFT project on chain.
So, welcome everyone to another day of Builders Corner. And today with me, I have Big Chooks. So, can you introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Yes, so I am Emmanuel Onouha. I am, aka Chalks. People online know me, Web3 know me as Chalks. But I currently run Web3 Nigeria. I'm a community builder. I am a product manager. Mostly my core strengths are lying in community building, and that's where I'm very, very strong at. I mean, when conversations around Web3 comes into play.
That's beautiful. Now, when it comes to Africa, you're literally one of the top, if not the top, when it comes to community building. Your community, Web3 Nigeria, I think is the biggest community in Africa right now, and this is fact. Yeah. So I want to get your story. How were you onboarded into Web3? How did you get into Web3?
It was okay. So I knew about Web3. I think this year would make me, since 20. I got to know about Web3 in 2017, 2018. But back then, it was majorly just buying or selling of Bitcoin, nothing deep into the ecosystem as we know it now, right? In fact, back then there was no community as we know it now. It was strictly folks buying and accumulating Bitcoin and Ethereum at the time. So that's how I, got to know about the blockchain ecosystem. But I went in full time in 2020. Before then, I used to be in the Web2 space. I was a programmer in the Web2 space, front-end development back then, before 2020. During the 2020 lockdown, everything went into closure at the time. So, a couple of people had to find a way to augment income and, find a way to thrive. So 2020 on Clubhouse, Clubhouse was very hot in 2020. I got to hear about NFTs, on Clubhouse, and NFTs were not really hot. They were just beginning to become a thing in 2020, and I was on a Clubhouse. Would I call it a space or something? But I was on a Clubhouse recording one day, and I bumped into folks talking about NFTs and all of that, and that's where my interest peaked on the on NFTs, and then I tried finding, researching more about what NFTs were in 2020. Fast forward to 2021, I now found that there was actually a community for people, Web3 folks on X. It was just becoming a thing. People were building communities back then, on X. Projects were having one-of-one collectibles, not the way we know them now. It was just one-of-one collectibles. People were collecting as art on chain. I picked interest and dove into it deep, and voila, here we are, stuck with it full time since 2020 till now.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I love the way you're able to evolve. Even in Clubhouse, you found out about NFTs and you decided to go deep into it to know what's all about. And from your past, you have actually launched NFT projects because, you are big, everybody knows about it. So what are some projects that didn't work out in the past, or some unfinished projects that didn't work out in the past, and the lessons you learned from this project?
Yeah, that's a good question. 2021, I was privileged to work with a lot of foreign-based teams building NFT collectibles, and the ending of 2021, I decided to go into building my own thing, because at the time it was majorly experimenting, right? I don't think anybody really understood the core, how big, the NFT ecosystem could evolve into. Back then, we had a couple of them that were really huge, which were like Bored Apes, which launched in 2021, and a few of them that were, becoming a thing. And there was no what's the word to use now? Now we say what's the utility and all of that. Back then there was nothing like that. If you could experiment and build, you go ahead and do. So I used my experience from working with other teams and decided working with other teams building communities, and decided to experiment on something that didn't go well. We had smart contract issues, so that didn't do well in 2021. But the lesson I got from there was, if I am to revisit 2021, I feel like now, because you are young, so you want to experiment, you want to build, you want to show that you can build. In fact, I like saying, and it's actually factual, I think I was actually the second African to build any NFT project on chain. First one was Afrodroid. Yeah, before I went into building. So Nigerians, Africans were not really even dabbling into anything building NFT inclined stuff at the time. I was one of the earliest folks. But the lesson for me from that experience would be just I should have waited. But at the end of the day, if it worked out, probably we would have a different tale to say, rather than my advice now would have been just wait, right? Wait and accumulate more experience, in quotes. But in the same way, if it worked out, my advice will also be go ahead and experiment, right? Just go ahead and experiment and change. So yeah, that was basically what I took from that experience. But yeah, that experience helped me because in 2023 we launched Magna, which was a free to mint collectible project that we had partnerships with Magic Eden, and in a couple partnerships we sold out in less than a minute, 5,000 collectible in less than a minute. It was basically all free mint. Yeah, it was basically all free mint. It went on to secondary to do over $500,000 market trading volume, right? Back then, yeah, there was no what's the word now when you have royalties. Yes, there was no. It was basically an experiment for me to find a way to bring more people on chain, more normies on chain. So if you want to get into Web3 at the time, and you don't know about NFTs, you want to use NFTs, which was a very easy onboarding mechanism. You try to get your hands on a Magna whitelist, and and probably get on public sale. So yeah, that was the experience from that failed venture basically helped me out in going ahead to building that.
So that means I can say it added to your confidence and experience.
Yes. I think because if you've not done it before, you basically need an advisor, right? And this is another thing to note. At the time, there really was nobody advising, nobody to go to, right? Like I said, I'm one of those early people who got into trying to build anything from this our own ecosystem, trying to build anything on chain, right? So there was really nobody to in quotes go to ask for advice. You were basically just experimenting. It was all hoping that what you do works out on chain, at the time. So so we learned from that experience, and that was it.
Man, That's beautiful, being part of the first movers. So you have to make a structure and blueprint for yourself from this side of the world.
You fail, you get back up and you continue building.
That's awesome. So what are you currently working on? What is the project you're currently working on?
So now it's just basically Web3 Nigeria. I have something else that's not yet disclosed, but for now, it's majorly all attention is on Web3 Nigeria. We're building Web3 Nigeria, which we've been lucky to, the brand sells itself, so that's good for us. When I say us, I keep saying us because it's not just a one-person thing. It's a group of a lot of people coming together to push Web3 onboarding in Nigeria or in Africa generally, but starting from home, which is Nigeria, pushing grassroots adoption, pioneering Web3 in the country and in extension the continent. So basically that's where my attention has been for the past 1 year. We just turned Web3 Nigeria just became 1 year. I think either October or November. Yeah. So it just became 1 year. And it's incredible the growth we've been able to amass over this short time.
It's crazy, very crazy. The growth is massive. You made a tweet some time ago that before you get to 20, part of your goal is to build the largest Web3 community in Africa, and also to build a global product on a global stage that is generating revenue. So I want to know what's your approach to that milestone and what's some of your personal plans for 2026?
Okay, great. So it was actually before I get to 30, not 20. I wish I
was 30, yes.
I wish I was 20, I wish as you said this, my clock rewinded and took me back to 20, but yeah, I think before I got to 30, I'm not up to 30 yet. Hopefully, before I get to then, I've already, that post outlined two of my greatest wishes, which is, to build one of the largest, one of the biggest brands when it comes to Web3 in the continent, not just community itself, right? One of the biggest communities that and brand in the continent. And fortunately for me, we are doing that with Web3 Nigeria at the moment. So to some extent, I feel like I can tick that box, right? I can tick that aspect of building a big brand in the continent when it comes to Web3. But when on the product side, I think product side is very, very important to me. Is very important to me, and I feel like that is anybody who wants to win in Web3 long term. African should be considering building a product that can rival some of what you have with the Web2 companies, like Nigerian-based Web2 companies. And I'm not just referring to fintech-based products alone, like other scale products that can thrive in the continent, right? So I've been for some years now, I think for 2 years now, I have been personally working on a platform. It's been challenging, but hopefully we can pull something off with it. Hopefully I can announce that in 2026. But one of the things is basically we've been working on a blockchain-based voting protocol. But yeah, that's what I have interest in, a blockchain-based voting protocol. But yeah, like hopefully 2026, we can get to the point where we announce that. Either that, or maybe I could just dream this night and God inspires me with a cool, crazy idea and says, go ahead and build. I probably get the new inspiration of something. because I've been having second thoughts on blockchain-based voting protocol, because that's what I've been on for 2 years now. I've spent a lot of money trying to build that out. It's kind of challenging. building that, but hopefully we can pull that up. If not, if I get the inspiration to dump that, I'll probably just count my losses and move on.
It's eventually important to get that though, because I mean, you are in Nigeria, and when it comes to voting in Nigeria, you know how messed up it is. So I pray it works out and you have the connections in the government for them to use your products for the next 2027 election. So now, when it comes to you being choked as a person, now I've had founders, and I've had one that was a musician, a founder, and also a big community brand person. So how do you deal with structure?
That's a good question. You know, when you say structure, can you break that down a little bit so I don't derail?
Okay. So I mean, like, as human beings, we love to do a lot of things. We love to try out different aspects. And like me now, I mean, I would love to be a tourist content creator and all of that. So how do you deal with you being, let's say you have an offline business, how do you deal with you being a CEO, the founder of Web3 Nigeria, and any other things you are doing background or on screen? How do you put structure in place to make sure that all things are going simultaneously?
That's a good question, actually. I tend to, you know, it's crazy. First of all, I'm not going to. It's absolutely crazy because myself, I'm a family man. You know, I'm a husband, I'm a father. So that alone is already a chip on the shoulder, right? Then you now have to come into the Web3 space, and you're also building a very important brand, and you're also building a very important product. That's crazy too. You also have to deal with co-workers, people working with you, you know, people carrying the vision as much as you are. Also crazy. It needs a certain form of structure too, coupled with the other offline stuff I have going on. It's crazy, but one of the motivations for me is Elon, right? Elon Musk. And now when I say Elon Musk, somebody will be like, oh, you don't have that much what's it called? The finance Elon has to play around. Exactly, to play around with the numerous companies that he has. But you know, that's my motivation, to be honest. If he can how many companies does Elon has? I think he has probably more than 5 companies right now, active companies. You know of Tesla, you know of SpaceX, and the boring companies. Yes, there's AI, there's XAI. There are a couple of them. You know, there are a couple of them. But one of the things I think is just trying to find balance at the end of the day. There is no defined way to, you know, put in this context, create structure. It's just to find balance. Personally, you know, try to find balance with everything you are doing. If it's Web3 Nigeria, you try to find a balance with, you know, what's happening in Web3 and setting up like a team that can handle things that happens behind the scenes. You have a team that handles stuff behind the scenes for this other product. You know, your offline stuff, you basically have people, a lot of people. The structure is just revolves around people generally. And and that's something I am trying to get better at, right? You know, like outsourcing roles to people who you genuinely know are capable of, you know, of manning several positions, right? That's the whole thing around the structure for me.
That is awesome. I mean, it still comes down to people. So far you've been on this space. What's one lesson you have learned? Because you said you knew about crypto in 2017. So let's assume it's 8 years now. So what's that lesson you have learned?
You said I had to sigh for that, right? Because this one is very important. I feel one of the biggest lessons for me is the space evolves very fast. So be on your toes to also evolve as much as the space evolves, right? I have seen this space evolve over and over and over and over and over again. Most of the time, if you are not ready to evolve, you get sidelined. It's just the way it is. Like, the space moves so fast. Somebody who you see is trending today may not be trending tomorrow. You know, but then the people who are thinking, you know, long term, at the end of the day, find a way to insert themselves into the conversations that matter. That at the end of the day, give themselves mind share. I mean, when it comes to having a certain level of cadence in the ecosystem. So mind share is important. Try as much as possible to get mind share. Build something that always references you, even if you are not in the forefront. Like personally, if you're not on the forefront, you have things in the ecosystem that nobody can take away from you. Be proactive in that effect. Always be ready to evolve. Basically, that's the advice. Be ready to evolve.
Nice. Wow. Always ready to evolve. Very important. Very important. The way better goes on in this space, today it might be NFT, tomorrow. Like, I know that 3 to 4 years ago it was trading. You buy a coin and when bull run comes, it does 100x, 50x. But now it's more on product. One is moving to more on product. And
funny enough, I call that, before 2018 it was trading. Before 2020 it was trading. 2021 NFTs came, took over. Then within then you had metaverse, you had a couple of things, a couple people launched, and companies, and all of that. A couple people betted on themselves to try to build something. Even Meta spent billions trying to build something in the metaverse and all of that, which I don't know how that's going. But after then we had we even in NFTs there are different different metas that came in, right? So the metas is always going on. There's always something. You had InfoFi, you had what's the other one we had last year?
SocialFi. Was it?
Exactly, it was SocialFi. You had SocialFi. Exactly, you had Tap. So there's always something going to come. Now it's products, so you're right. And I call the era of products, right? Because now you have a lot of people trying to, experiment. You know why there's products now? Because there are a lot of people to reference now. People have tried and failed. So, if you're building something now, you know who to go to. Personally, I'm advising a couple of people, who are building early stage products. That's what I am into now. Outside of building Web3 Nigeria, I'm also heavy into advisory. I feel like I have come to the point where I have some experience, when building on chain, especially building on chain, community side, how products can approach community building and all of that. So yeah, I'm heavy into that. I am privileged to be advising a couple of cool teams building crazy stuff both in the finance side of blockchain and both tools, blockchain based tools, right? So I think we are getting to that point, but it's cool now because a couple people have people to reference. Like somebody can come to me and say, hey, Emmanuel, I want you to advise me. I'm building this stuff in my early stage, get a certain equity in the company and, come in as an advisor or something. And it's easier for them. But back in the day, it wasn't like that. There were not many people to reference. You get the point.
Yeah, I get the point. That is absolutely true. And I want to give a shout out to 5 person that inspires you.
5 is too much. 5 is too much.
Yeah, 3.
I'll give you 1 in the Web2 space and 1 in the Web3 space, right? You know the second. Right. You know the second one. But the first one is Elon. Although I'm inspired by his work rate, nothing else. Not his, sometimes people are inspired by everything about a person. I'm just inspired about his work rate, to build stuff, right? His openness and willingness to build stuff, not being scared of failing. And that's something I preach. If I go into stuff, I'm not scared of failing. At the end of the day, if I fail, I take it up as a lesson, right? So that on that aspect, I take that from Elon and nothing else. And then in Web3, that's the Web2 side. In the Web3 space, I am inspired by Jesse, right? I feel like, I wish I knew Jesse when I started out building in building in Web3 2020, 2021. Funny enough. Yeah, I wish I knew. I wish I knew Jesse that back there. But I've been greatly inspired by him. Privileged enough to also have some form of close, contact, conversations. I've not said this publicly, but Jesse is one of the early people's. One of the people I reached out. In fact, he was the first person I reached out to about Web3 Nigeria actually, and he
Wow.
gave me some. Yes,
Wow.
so having somebody like that you can that's openly available to to listen is also very, very much helpful. So those are like my inspirations. His work rate is crazy. I'm basically inspired by people who have insane work rate, right? And these are two people who their work rate is insane. Jesse's work rate is insane. Elon's work rate is insane. You may not agree with everything about their person generally. Some people may have issues with Elon, the kind of tweets he makes, the kind of person he is, but you can't deny that work rate. That work rate basically opens doors. It predisposes you to bigger opportunities. Whether you fail or win, there's always something at the end of the road for you. So yeah, that's basically.
Yeah, I'm also inspired by that. I mean, Elon, there was a time Elon, one thing I love about Elon is that he shamelessly markets whatever he's involved in. There was a time he did perfume last year. When he recently bought X, he did a perfume and he was shamelessly saying, buy my perfume so I could recover from the money I spent on buying X. I was like, what the heck? How does this man?
The thing about that is him taking a risk, because so many people will be like, why is this world's richest man selling perfume? Why is it this one? Why is it that one? But he's openly ready to experiment. Like, he doesn't care what you think of his failures, right? And that's what you want. I feel like I need to even tap into that more, because when I started out, I was heavy into experimenting. As long as I think it, I'm going ahead to to do it. If it fails, I pick a lesson from it. But as I'm getting older, I feel like one of the things I am now telling myself is slow down on the experimentation. You are not young anymore. You have a very slow window to experiment. So yeah, that's basically it.
His people like on the other end is sometimes I wonder if he sleeps because he's active online, he's active and all that. So
yeah, there are a couple of people in Nigeria who are also really crazy. A lot of people in Nigeria are doing crazy stuff now, which is exciting to see. It wasn't like that back then, but it's exciting to see a lot of builders from our demography also pulling in weight in their own right. So yeah, shout out to all of them. I don't want to specifically just call out certain people. Like, a lot of people are doing crazy stuff. I'm close to a lot of people who are building, pretty much close to a lot of builders in the ecosystem that I talk to every day, who I know are killing it in their own right. So yeah, that's it.
So what is a piece of advice you wish you had earlier on in your journey that you wish to pass down to people getting onboarded into this space? And this is like a general piece: builders, content creators, traders, airdrop farmers. I mean, all of them are what makes this industry spicy. So what's one piece of advice you would give to them?
It's very simple. Get a mentor. Outside of me, that one was my personal. The one I told you before was my personal. Like, I feel I wish I had waited a little bit. But on a general scale, outside of me, if you're privileged enough to get people who can advise you, go ahead and get them. It's very important. My growth in the ecosystem, in as much as back in the day, it was very hard to get people who can give you directives, because a lot of people were also experimenting first time back then. But now you have a lot of people who have been there and have done that and have failed and have won, whatever. Get people who can put you through. It's very important. I back then, when I was trying to build community, I had to switch from being a dev to going into community building, because community building was in vogue at the time. I told you NFTs were just coming up, so there was a big room for community builders. And I have a little bit of marketing background, so I decided to go ahead and experiment on going into building communities. And a lot of people shaped me, a lot of white folks back then, because they were the ones ruling the ecosystem. I reached out to a couple of them to give me advice on how to, how to go about the whole community building thing, how to grow myself personally in the ecosystem. And their advice came in very, very great. So guys, if you are starting out and you want to grow, get somebody who is at a place you see yourself in, somebody who is at a place where you want to be in. Get that person to to advise you, to get somebody who you can always reach out and say, hey, I'm having so issues. I know you've been through this. How did you pass through your own ordeal? And how can I pass through mine? A lot of people are willing to help, which is the beauty of the ecosystem right now. If you're lucky, you get crazy cool people who are willing to help.
Right. So now I want to drop a question for our next guest.
What I think the next question for the next guest would be, what is their prediction of the blockchain for the next 5 years? Where do they see the blockchain evolving into in the next 5 years? Right. I'm guessing the next guest is Nigerian or African, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so so apparently, what's their projection? Where do they see crypto in the continent evolving into in the next 5 years? Product-wise, where do they see it?
Okay, that's beautiful. The person would be asked. So we have come to an end of this section, and to be honest, it's one of the best I've had so far.